You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
As I said, Congressman Al Green, he was here to actually read that resolution and introduce it. He and I sat down and he explained why he wanted the NAACP to be on record for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Hey folks, Roland Martin here. We are, of course, in Detroit for the 110th annual NAACP annual convention. And right now, of course, they're about to vote on various resolutions. Joining us right now, a former president of NAACP branch in Houston, now congressman from Houston, Al Green. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, better than I deserve, dear brother. Thank you for all that you do. Many people don't know of your great works in the human rights, civil rights movement to the extent that I do. I want the world to know that I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Let's get right to it. You just finished speaking on stage, speaking to a resolution for the NAACP calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Why is it important, even though the NAACP is a nonpartisan organization, why is it important from your vantage point that they support that resolution and pass it?
Well, thank you. The NAACP is maintaining its position of being nonpartisan. That's a nonpartisan resolution. It's not about Democrats. It's about democracy. It's not about Republicans. It's about the Republic. And it's important to have the NAACP's name associated with this endeavor because the NAACP brings a level of credibility that no other organization can bring. It's the oldest civil rights organization in the country, and it will have some influence on people who actually vote in the House of Representatives, knowing that the NAACP is on board.
Obviously, you had less than 100 folks who voted for it, but since you have an additional number of Democrats who come out for this as well, Robert Mueller is testifying tomorrow as well. Do you think it's important for people to also continue to put pressure on Speaker Nancy Pelosi to have hearings so people can actually hear the various details in that Mueller report as opposed to what we've seen thus far, just Attorney General Barr giving his synopsis?
I think hearings are important, but I also know this, that the president has said enough in the public domain for us to move forward. The president can be impeached for his bigotry. Andrew Johnson was impeached for bigotry in 1868. I believe it would be far better for us to impeach him for his bigotry than obstruction of justice. Now, I was the first to call for his impeachment for obstruction of justice on the House floor, but I understand now that this is an opportunity for us to send a message to those who will look through the vista of time in terms of how we attack bigotry. Those who tolerate bigotry perpetuate bigotry. We should not allow it to perpetuate. We can actually impeach a president for it. We just have to demand it. I assure you, if this president behaved this way and he were a certain other president, let's just call him President Obama, he would be impeached just for what he has said.
Do you also believe that this emboldens him by having essentially no repercussions against him for his actions?
You are so correct, eminently so. When he sees that there are no guardrails, it does embolden him. He has become now a president who believes that he can do pretty much anything that he wants. And by the way, that's what he's doing. When he says go back, that's a trope that you and I understand has been used many times against us personally. And it is something that sends a message to another group of people in society who didn't want us to be here in the first place. Those people then become activated. He incites hate. We must not allow him to finish his presidency without our having had our last word, which is impeachment.
Last question for you, and then you have to get back to Washington, D.C. Let's talk about your thoughts on the cowardice of Republicans who are unwilling to really stand up in significant numbers. Only 4 voted for the Democratic resolution to condemn his racist tweets. Many are offering all kind of excuses. That, to me, again, shows exactly where the Republican Party is today in 2019, that they as a party will not condemn clear, undeniable racism from this man.
History will not be kind to the Republican Party for its lack of standing up for the American people. You're not standing up for black people. You're not standing up for brown people. You're standing up for the American people whenever you take on bigotry and hatred and a president who has obstructed justice. This is all about whether anyone is going to be above the law. we all say no one is above the law. Well, if you don't take a stand against what the person is doing that is against the law, then you're allowing that person to be above the law. We ought not allow this to happen. I don't think history is going to be kind to Republicans. Now, having said that, I have to say this. We need the spirit of 1868 in the Congress because, and that's when Andrew Johnson was impeached, because we cannot allow this to become just Republicans. Democrats have got to get on the impeachment bandwagon as well. While I would love to have Republicans, we have 235 Democrats. We can do this without a Republican. I would love to do it, but we can't.
For the folks who don't understand the Constitution,
sure.
House impeaches, Senate convicts,
exactly,
or finds not guilty. So the reality is, so when you say impeached, he could be impeached in the House. That goes down, obviously, for record. The conviction comes in the Senate. That's where the removal comes in.
Absolutely correct. And Andrew Johnson, who was impeached, did not win his next election, by the way. Bill Clinton was impeached. His heir apparent did not win the election. Impeachment is an indelible stain that is placed on a president. The House does it. We can do it with 212 votes, assuming all members of president voting. 218 votes, all members present voting. We in the House can take up this with or without Republican support, and we can pass impeachment with or without Republican support.
And you don't. And again, first of all, your job in the House is to do the business of the House. When you hear Speaker Pelosi say, "Well, the Senate's not going to convict; it's a waste of time," that to me is the equivalent of saying, "Well, you could pass a bill which Democrats have done in the House, and McConnell doesn't take up." So what does that mean? You don't take up any bills in the House?
We have passed many bills in this session that he has not taken up. He's not going to take up minimum wage, the last one that we passed just before we left. We must do our job and let the Senate do its job. And I'll add this. If the Senate doesn't do its job, then you'll know what senators we need to take a second look at.
Got it.
Also, if the Senate doesn't do its job, then I believe history will show that the Senate itself was on the wrong side of history. Thank you very much.
Congressman Al Green, we got to go. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, folks, let's break it down with our panel. We have Kelly Bethea, communications strategist, Dr. Jason Nichols, Department of African American Studies at University of Maryland, and Malik Abdul. That's right, not Malik. Malik, he's back. Of course, you knew I was gonna mess with you, so let's not act like that wasn't gonna happen. Of course, Malik, Vice President, Black Conservative Federation. All right, Malik, I'll let you get started first. NAACP unanimous supporting Representative Al Green for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Your response?
Oh, it's not surprising that they would do something like that. I imagine that this time next year, when we have the same conversation about the NAACP Convention, and Trump declines to show up again, you only have to look at this to see why he probably shouldn't have gone in the first place. Because I don't know if they would have done that had Trump actually. No,
that's nonsense. No, that's nonsense. First of all, I guarantee you the resolution would have still actually taken place had Trump come. I actually interviewed Derek Johnson and talked to him about that. He's going to explain later exactly what took place. Donald Trump really did not want to answer any questions, Jason, from this body. That's what the real issue was. He wanted to come in here and give his usual spiel, and they said, no, you're a candidate. But you'll hear more of that from Derek Johnson a little bit later. But Jason, on this resolution, again, it was unanimous. The membership, they stood with Congressman Al Green. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Malik that actually, this was expected and it's the right thing to do. I think that there's so much evidence. I think tomorrow when we hear from Bob Mueller, he's going to illustrate it and make it come alive again that the president obstructed justice, that's unbecoming of a president of the United States. He's racially divisive, and an organization that has been devoted to racial justice should condemn him and not want him to be our commander-in-chief any longer. So this was no surprise to me, and I think the organization did what was right.
So, Kelly, when you look at this resolution, bottom line is, if you listen to Congressman Al Green, he wasn't just talking about what took place in 2016 with Russia. He talked about the bigoted comments from this particular president, his behavior, how he has acted. He said that's what he should be impeached for. Your thoughts on this NAACP resolution?
I couldn't agree more with it. I mean, we have not just, like Al Green said, we have years now of behavior and lies and situations in which, if it were any other person in this office, he or she would have been impeached by now. They probably wouldn't have even been elected by now. So the fact that we are this far along and still nothing has been done, we are getting closer, according to what I recall Al Green saying. We now have more votes than the last time there was a vote regarding impeachment. So we have more coming together in terms of making this an initiative. But I think we're behind the ball on this as Democrats. This should have happened in 2016 before, we had this mess.
Well, but here's the deal, though. The reality is, well, first of all, in 2016, Democrats did control the House. Okay, so Democrats didn't get control of the House until after 2018. So this wasn't going to happen in 2016. Republicans certainly were not going to do it. Now, of course, you have Robert Mueller who's going to be testifying tomorrow. And so people are going to actually hear from him about what his report said. Not an analysis, not an opinion from William Barr, Melick, but actually from the guy who actually led it. And you have the White House, of course, who's trying their best to stun it. They have sent a letter saying that he cannot answer any questions that go outside of the report, claiming executive privilege. What the hell is that all about?
Well, I'm not really sure what's the standard or really why he would answer.
There is none.
Well,
they're making it up.
Yeah, but I'm just not sure why he would answer. What he's there to testify about his a couple of year-long investigation, and I'm just not sure what benefit there would be for him to talk about things outside of the investigation. So I don't necessarily disagree with what the White House is pushing back against in that sense. But what I will say...
Are you serious? Come on, Melick. Are you serious? But look, they have been trying to extend executive privilege to every person, even people who don't even work for the White House anymore. Okay, so they're trying to extend this in areas that are nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't, again, I haven't followed it closely enough to see what things they're actually claiming executive privilege over, but I just don't know why would Mueller answer questions that are outside of the investigation, because that's the only thing that we're talking about, the investigation. So I'm just not sure why he would answer questions outside of that.
Well, fine, Jason. Leave it up to him to answer whatever questions he wants, but to have the Department of Justice weigh in, telling him what he can and cannot answer, shows this administration wants to control everything, and they're frankly going really way beyond what the law says.
Absolutely. They are 100% very scared that Bob Mueller is actually going to be speaking. But to be honest, Roland, I think what's in the report is enough. I think when Americans actually hear, because people heard the spin, they heard, news organizations try to show both sides. They heard the White House talking points from other organizations. They heard the president saying he was totally exonerated. This is going to tear the skirt off, and we're going to see the bare naked report coming from the man who wrote it. And I think that that's going to be enough when people see how this man obstructed justice. Of course, he's always going to have his cult-like followers, but there are people out there who are going to be swayed by hearing Bob Mueller's voice actually say what was in the report. So I don't even think we actually need to hear any extra dirt that's lying under the carpet. I think that there's plenty on the surface.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, you've heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org. Why? Because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. We have all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. A recent report by New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market at over $340 billion. We know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all of the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S. and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. And they need land to grow all of the plants. Folks, this is not rocket science. It's just an investment, an incredible investment opportunity. And that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. In their business model, it is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right. They are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. Our friends at 420 Real Estate decided to do something special for the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Originally, the minimum investment level was $500. Right now, though, you can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200. The range is from $200 to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion industry, okay, that is still growing, and you can get in with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game, and you can do it now.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.